man, it feels like it's been forever since we've done a Ranking of Kings video, guys. And it kind of has been, With the new season dropping and all that, the new spring season, I had a lot of stuff I got to cover. I still have a lot of stuff I got to cover, but I figured, we don't have anything new really today, so let's just hop on in and do a Ranking of Kings video again. This series is fantastic, and I never intended to drop it ever. I also didn't intend to take such a long break from it, but we're back today with episode 16, and man, we had a really heavy episode today, honestly. I didn't know that when I would stop, we'd stop right before such a heavy episode. But here we are with episode 16, and let's just kind of get right into it, because we got a decent amount to talk about. So, our episode begins right where our last one left off, with Desha invading the kingdom and revealing to our characters that his real goal for being there is to kill Miranjo. And we get a little insight onto that as to why he feels that way. And it's not just because she freed all the criminals from his prison. We get a little flashback, and man, this scene was heavy. This scene was quite heavy. It turns out that Bojji actually knows that name for some reason. Everyone else there doesn't know the name, but he does. He's heard it before in the past. And it's revealed that the person that killed Bojji's mom is actually Miranjo. She apparently set an attack onto the kingdom. She hired these people to attack the kingdom, and his mother died protecting him. And it was an incredibly sad scene, actually. She's huddled over his body with arrows sticking out of her back, just saying, "I want you to live no matter what, Bojji." And it was a very, very sad scene. And it's revealed that this was all Miranjo's doing. That she set all these forces upon the kingdom to, we don't know why yet, but to kill Bojji's mom, apparently. And they do just that. But in the process, she gets betrayed too, and she gets a arrow right through her stomach. Apparently almost dying. But in this scene, we see something quite interesting. We see the return of the demon from the previous episode. Or previous episodes, I should say. We see the return of this demon. And thinking about it now, it makes perfect sense that he would play such a huge part in the series. Because if you remember earlier, in a previous episode, we saw that King Boss was possessed by this demon. We don't know the reason why, and we don't know how, but we know Miranjo is the one that orchestrated it. And we see in her dying moments, after she was betrayed by the very people she brought to destroy the kingdom, the demon approached her. And for what reason and what he did, we don't know, but we can only assume that he's the one that put her in that mirror to potentially save her life. And that really begs the question of, what is the demon's true goal in all this? Because Miranjo's was apparently, her goal was to take out Boss's wife and apparently take her place. That's the feeling I get. But what is the demon's goal in all this? He made a deal with Boss. He's apparently made a deal with Miranjo. Like, what is his real goal in all this? That's what I'm very curious to find out. But yeah, we see in her dying moments that the demon appears. So, supposedly, he saved her life. But we'll just have to wait and see. But it's very curious. Now, we got the return of my handy-dandy notebook, because I had to write some stuff down in this episode. There was a decent amount that happened. So after that happened, we get Desha talking a bit more. And not only does he want to kill Miranjo, he wants to take back Gigan no matter what. And we get a little bit of insight into that. We get a bit of Gigan's backstory, actually, in this episode, which I didn't know we needed until we actually got it. And now that we got it, I'm actually glad we did. Because it's revealed that before he was a criminal, he actually worked with King Desha. You see, he was a mercenary that King Desha hired to fight against his father, who was a terrible, terrible dictator. And him, Despa, and all his forces rose up to fight against him, and he hired Gigan as one of the warriors for his thing, for his army. But it turns out that the people that his father hired were actually Gigan's people. So, in the process of fighting against his father, Desha had Gigan fighting and killing his own kind, his own people. And as you would expect, that kind of pained him a bit and made him question where his real loyalties lie, because the other mercenaries that Desha hired were very ruthless and vile people who reveled in killing his people, who quite literally would kill them for fun and like dance on their bodies and in their blood. It was quite appalling actually to see. And they actually kidnapped a child from Gigan's people, and they were torturing it in front of him. And this was the final straw for him that finally broke the camel's back, and he attacked Desha's men. And because of that, Desha had great casualties on his side. Which, to be fair, like, what did he expect to happen when he hired him? And he knew that they were going to fight his people. What did he really expect would happen? You know, it's truly baffling. So he was branded a criminal, and because of his actions, Desha's men, or all his side, really, of the army, suffered great casualties. And it really just puts into perspective that Gigan really isn't that bad of a guy. You know, he was just in a really bad situation, and he did something that was quite foolish, but can anyone really blame him for what he did? I don't think so, personally. But he was branded a criminal because of that. And Desha wants to put him back into prison no matter what. So Gigan, in the present time, actually attacks Desha after he remembers all this. Because why wouldn't he? He's the person that orchestrated the mass murder of his people, in a sense, if you really think about it. He even slit that child's throat that the mercenaries kidnapped, which was... I didn't expect that to happen, to be honest. That was pretty brutal. He just slits the kid's throat right in front of everyone. And yeah, in present time, Gigan attacks Desha. And Desha isn't really that fazed by it. He's gonna kill Gigan, actually, until bojjis steps in and saves him. And then we get another flashback, and it's revealed that Desha, and Despa for that matter, were appalled at what was happening. They were truly sickened by the atrocities that his men were committing against Gigan's people. But he said it himself in this episode, war is war, and no side can leave war without their hands bloodied in some way. So we find out that the decision actually weighed very heavily on Desha. And this is actually the thing that made Despa and Desha separate from each other. This was the final straw for them as well that made Despa leave Desha. Just the sickening nature of what happened. And in this scene, actually, if I remember right, that's Oaken. Because you see, that's Oaken, that's who the third person. And you see, I thought he was Desha's son, but it turns out he's also their brother. So there's 3 brothers that they have. So apparently I was wrong about that. And we see in this scene that he is just the most righteous person ever. He wants to do good. He even sees the good in Gigan in that moment. Even after killing all of their men in his blind anger, he sees the good in him still and says, I want that man in my army one day. That is a man of true virtue that will not put up with any vileness. I want him to work for me one day. And we just see the clear contrast between him now and in the present day and how he was in the past. And it just has me wondering, like, what could have happened to make someone like that turn into a sick individual like he is now? It truly makes me wonder, like, what heinous event could have transpired to make that happen. I'm extremely curious now because he seemed like the most upright, righteous person ever. I damn near say he would have been a better king than Desha is, but I'm extremely curious to know what happened. And I'm also a little sad by it too to see someone of such great virtue reduced to what he is now. But yeah, we see that that decision weighed very heavily on Desha. So in present time, when Bocchi deflects his attack and pleads to him that he doesn't want to fight him, Desha actually remembers this, and instead of wanting to take Gigant back and put him in jail, he makes a new suggestion. He wants Gigant to return with him to the underworld as a member of his order. He even tells him, like, I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need you to come with me. Which, to an extent, we see that he is a good man. We see that he is a good king, Desha. Regardless of the things he's done, like he said himself in the episode, you can't expect to win a war without getting your hands dirty. Sometimes you have to make tough decisions. That's just the way things are. And we see that underneath the bravado that he puts up, underneath the facade of a cruel person, he's really quite a kind person deep down. And we see that a bit. But before then, let me not forget this. The reason he leaves is because him and Despa actually have a secret plan. Now you see, Despa flat out tells him, like, you can't beat Bocchi. You're not good enough, Desha, to beat Bocchi. And you definitely can't beat Boss. So they devise a plan, actually, between each other to apparently have Bocchi fight Boss. Now, when I heard that, I right away thought to myself, like, how is that going to happen? How are you going to get the boy to fight his own father? But it's revealed that in that moment, while these two are fighting, they're going to use that moment while Miranjo's unguarded to kill her. And apparently take out the demon, because it's revealed that the demon is apparently inside of her right now. And the only way to get it out is to kill her. So everything's all coming back to this demon now, who I believe is our true villain of the series at this point. Because every single thing that's happened in this series has kind of revolved around him, if you think about it. So it makes me very curious to see just how much influence he's had over the course of everything so far. But I'm sure we'll figure that out very soon. So Desha actually decides to leave after agreeing with Despa's plan. It's a good plan on paper. Can you blame him? And we finally, after they leave, we finally get our scene with Domas and Bocchi, where they finally confront each other after what happened. Now, Domas wants Bocchi to forgive him. But for the first time in Bocchi's life, he has hatred for someone. He has resentment. Domas did try to kill him. He was one of the people that Bocchi trusted, like, unquestionably. And he tried to kill him. And he would have succeeded, too, without Kage. And for the first time in Bocchi's life, he doesn't know how to feel. He doesn't know if he can forgive him. So he actually runs off. And we see in this scene just how much of a good friend Kage is. Because he doesn't go and yell at Bocchi or anything to try to forgive Domas. No, he just goes and encourages him. And keeps pushing him forward to achieve his goals. Just showing what a true friend he really is to him. He doesn't push the topic or anything. He just is there for him. And that's really what Bocchi needs right now. And that kind of lights a fire in Domas and Hokuro as well. Because now they want to live their lives with their head held high so that one day Bocchi can forgive them. So their mission to destroy the underworld gate is still a go. So that's what they do. And Bocchi's mission to go save the kingdom is still a go. And our episode ends actually with Oken breaking free from his restraints. And this episode definitely feels like the calm before the storm, because it feels like shit is about to go down. But you guys let me know in the comments how you thought about this episode. Like I said, this was a very heavy episode. Like, it started off extremely heavy. And now we know how Bocchi's mother died, and man, Miranjo, what a character Miranjo has turned out to be. She seems to have her really good moments, but then she seems to have her vile moments. But with the context we know now, like, how many of these moments were controlled by this demon, and how many of them were of her own free will? That's the question I've been thinking to myself after watching this episode. Like, how many heinous things that she's done have been influenced by this demon? You guys let me know in the comments what you think about that as well, because it's honestly quite interesting. But yeah, guys, I think that'll be it for today's episode. You know, we had a pretty packed episode, honestly, filled with a lot of stuff. I talked more this time than I normally do with these reviews, but I don't know. It's been a while since we've done this series. You know, I wanted to really just talk to you guys about it because it's quite good. There's a reason I'm reviewing it. It's quite a good series. But let me know what you thought about it in the comments, and that'll be it for today's episode, guys. So I hope you guys have a great day, week, month, and year. And yeah, let's continue that ranking of King's greatness, guys. Until then.